sort of weird Godzilla version of a Miami dolphin creature, some sort of lizardy shark thing. I don't know what it is, but I'm interested in it, Gary.
The shark is a shout-out to FantasySharks.com, where I got my start right for fantasy football. And IDP is a subset of fantasy football leagues called individual defensive player. Rather than, just draft the Baltimore Ravens team defense at the end of your draft. And team defenses really don't have much value in most standard fantasy football leagues. In an IDP league, you draft defensive players just like you draft the offensive ones. You draft defensive linemen. You draft linebackers.
So what are you getting points based on? Tackles, sacks?
Tackles. Exactly.
Tackles, sacks, interceptions.
Right.
How many starters do you have on the defensive side?
It can run anywhere from I know IDP leagues where there's only one or two defensive starters. I know ones where you'll start, say, two defensive linemen, two linebackers, two backs.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the more you talk about this, the more I feel like at some point I could, get addicted to it. And I don't, honestly, dude, I just don't have time. You know what I mean? It sounds like fun to, sort of, draft a corner and hope that he gets a pick or whatever. I mean, I get it. I'm in a stadium every week. I cover the Ravens. I haven't figured out why I don't have the mojo, because I think it would take me 10 hours a week. I really do.
I will admit that I have a tendency to get sucked into my
I am a competitive MFer. You know what I mean? I really am.
Yeah.
I mean, ask anybody. But I'm an all-in competitive guy. I mean, that's why I don't play golf. First of all, I don't like golf. But even if I liked it, I would want to play it so much to get good at it, right? The fantasy thing, it would haunt me, honestly, right? It really would.
The IDP leagues are a lot of fun. The first, or what's generally credited as being the first fantasy football league ever, was an IDP league. And I mean, once you open that Pandora's box, I mean, it just makes fantasy football that much more.
Is it kind of like the day I discovered Stratomatic baseball, or girls, sort of like that?
Yeah. Something like that. Next thing you know, you're looking at that first round. I mean, it's not bad enough when you're trying to decide, do I want Antonio Brown or do I want Adrian Peterson? Then you throw J.J. Watt into the mix, and
well, right. Well, I mean, you got to draft him, I guess. Gary, we're here in Baltimore for the Ravens this year. Let's get on to the playing field. I would think one of the fascinating parts about all of the fantasy work right now would be, who's the Ravens running back? Do you want to bet on Joe Flacco, or you want to bet against him at this point? Injuries, a huge part of where the Ravens are right now. I mean, is Steve Smith draftable? I would think probably not. I mean, I don't know. You want to bet on him or against him? You're not going to see some of these guys in the preseason either, so that makes it even more challenging. But the Ravens are an interesting conundrum, I think, from a fantasy perspective, because there's nothing that you would bet on right now as a fantasy player. There's nobody run out and draft, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, there are guys who could wind up being significant values for fantasy owners. I mean, like you said, Steve Smith, if he is going in drafts, he's going very, very late. If he could come out when he's been healthy these past couple of seasons, well, last season when he was healthy, and the season before, over the first half, he put up great numbers before he kind of tailed off down the stretch. The running back situation, like you said, there may not be a more cloudy backfield in the NFL right now in Baltimore. You've got Justin Forsett coming back off a broken arm. You got Buck Allen, who was okay, I guess, is about as good as you could say he actually performed from an NFL perspective last year. And then you've got Kenneth Dixon, who a lot of fantasy types are beating the drum on as the guy they expect to kind of emerge from that backfield as the fantasy option you want to own. But it's no sort of certainty at this point that he's going to be that guy. They added Ben Watson in free agency. You've got Flacco, who's not a guy who normally gets a lot of fantasy run. Every once in a while, he'll throw up a big game, but he's not generally a consistent statistical producer. So I don't know that you'll see a lot of Ravens get drafted early this year unless we see in training camp one of those running backs emerge as the clear winner of the competition fairly early. But there are guys on that Ravens offense. I mean, we saw Kamar Aiken. If you were in a league that gives a point for catches last year, Kamar Aiken was a weekly starter for your fantasy team by the end of the year. And I think we're going to see a couple guys emerge from that Baltimore offense as that sort of weekly, at least a flex option, if not a out-and-out weekly starter. But it's anyone's guess right now as it's going to be. I will say I expect Ravens to be a lot better football team this year. Last year was just
so do we.
Everything. Well, everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and then I mean, I can't remember watching a team have that much bad luck, whether it was injuries or the close losses or the Blake Bortles should have been a penalty that wasn't, that let the Jaguars win that game. I mean, it was just every week it was something. And, the Ravens aren't a team that you expect to, when they have that off season, kind of go into a bunker. They'll be right back in the AFC North mix this year.
All right, so from a fantasy perspective, Peyton Manning's gone now. I mean, how do you bet on Brock Osweiler? I mean, clearly Houston did, right? But, I mean, on your fantasy side, looking at the quarterbacks, a lot of questions out there at quarterback in a lot of different places about productivity. And I don't know that the preseason, other than health, right, I don't know that the preseason tells me a damn thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Osweiler's not a guy that I'm high on entering this year. To be honest, I think DeAndre Hopkins is being drafted in the first round of a lot of drafts, being selected as a top 5 wide receiver. I don't know how comfortable I am with that pick. Lamar Miller's another guy. There's a ton of hype surrounding him in Houston this year.
There's no doubt when you take a wide receiver, you're taking the quarterback too.
Everyone assumes that Miller, this is going to be the year that, he was, on a per-carry basis, he was very effective for the Miami Dolphins, but he just never got, that 20 carry a week, every week workload, and everyone thinks that this will be the year that happens. The entire AFC South is hard to figure. I mean, you got Houston, won the division last year with 9 wins. The Colts vastly underperformed. And you've got a Jacksonville Jaguars team that, I mean, on paper, looks like this is a team that should be ready to take that mythical next step.
You know what I'm thinking about them?
Title.
I slobbered all over the Tampa Rays in February and March about their pitching and their young talent. I know a lot of guys in Jacksonville, and I know they are going to be the flavor of August, right? They're going to be the team that's going to win 10 or 11 games this year in the minds of the pundits, right? Man, until I see it. I mean, they have a lot of talented cats, but I need to see it, and I haven't seen it yet, and I don't want to be the guy going all in on a perennial doormat, right? Be like you going all in on the Browns at some point. You'd have to really believe now, wouldn't you?
You can't get me to go 10% in on the Browns right now. I just got blasted by Browns fans. I think it was either last week or the week before for writing an article about Robert Griffin where I said he's being set up to fail. I don't know what else to tell. I mean, I wish as a Browns fan that there was reason for optimism surrounding that team right now. There's not. They're going to be awful. They're the leading contender to have the number 1 pick in the 2017 draft. If that's
so
what
you're not taking RG3 on your fantasy team? You almost sound like a Redskins fan.
Even if it looked like that he was going to rebound to something that resembled 2012 level, I mean, who's he going to throw the ball to? I mean, their best receiving target is going to be 31-year-old tight end who had a decent season until last year. I mean, that's it.
Well, I tell you, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks. There will be injuries. There will be storylines. There'll probably be some holdouts. And I don't know that we answer a lot of questions in the NFL before the opening week, do we? I mean, it's a feeling out period. We'll lose some guys. But, again, I don't learn much. And I don't know that I'm going to feel all in on the Ravens if they run the ball up and down the field in a couple of preseason games against the Saints, I don't know that gives me the confidence level. I've been so wrong during the preseason that I just would rather put my foot in my mouth and just shut up for a while and worry about it right around Labor Day.
And that's the thing. I mean, there were some times, like last year about this time, a lot of people were chalking up the Minnesota Vikings as a team that looked like they were ready to take that next step. Sure enough, they did. They won the NFC North last year. But for every team like that we feel, there will be one team that everyone will point at and say, this team's going to be phenomenal and they'll be horrible. I mean, a year ago right now, was anyone picking the Washington Redskins to win the NFC?
No.
If they were picked to finish anywhere, it was fourth. So,
and that's only because there weren't 5 teams.
Exactly. For everything we know, there's 3 things we don't.
Hey, man, always great to have you on. Tell everybody what you do and how you're helpful during the year to help their fantasies all come true.
I'm an NFL and fantasy football analyst at Bleacher Report, a senior staff writer at FantasySharks.com, a staff writer at FootballDiehards.com. You can find me on Twitter at IDPSharks. feel free to shoot me a question regarding your lineup, your fantasy draft, complain about something I wrote, whatever you want. I'll read them all.
He has a wonderful logo on Twitter at IDP Sharks. He is Gary Davenport, NFL analyst, fantasy football analyst at Bleacher Report. Great having you on, Gary. Stay warm, cool out there in the desert, I should say.
Anytime, gentlemen, my present.
You got it. Gary Davenport from Bleach Report. You can find me, Nasty, at WNST.net 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. Morning newspaper hits your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning, and that is powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Last but never least, breaking news happens first right here on the WNST Tech Service. That's brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5, driving you home. I'm Nestor. You can always find me, Nasty, at WNST.net or on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Don't forget about that. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports. A football conversation. The first place Baltimore Orioles are in New York taking on the Yankees before making their way home to take on the first place Cleveland Indians. Almost sounds like 95 or 97 at this point. Jay Jaffe covers all things baseball at SI.com. And more than that, covers all of sports, but really on the baseball side of the Hall of Fame and the history, has inked an interesting piece for you at SI.com, putting players aside from other players and